Why don't you start with your story and tell us your childhood, tell us your connection with Islam first before we move to the next point.
Sure. I grew up in Arabic speaking household, Islamic practicing household. Um, I would pray next to my dad, and it was just a regular thing. Very early on, I went, I would be back and forth between the States and the old country. And so when I would be over there, um, for the periods that I would be in Islamic school. I would attend the masjid regularly, which was, I mean, the masjid is down the street, but the way that it works over there is that it's down every street. It's just like you're never far from one. So I would go there regularly, and like there wasn't much to do at home. And so it was just all the more excuse to like, you'd either be loitering in the masjid or loitering around the masjid. But that it was just kind of like a city center, like youth drop center. That because otherwise, besides that, there aren't really too many sheltered spaces that people can just like be in. And I was young enough at that point that like I can still kind of like run around a little bit and like feel like I was having some fun in the masjid. Like if I was a grown man running around in the masjid, people would be looking at me differently. But I got to enjoy the masjid a little bit more being that young. Um, and
So
yeah,
you
so I
lived
was
most of your early life in and around a mosque,
Um,
which is very standard in
you know,
any Muslim household.
yeah, I would say that that's true because even in the states, that holds true. The mosques in the states are more sparse. They're a little more far apart, but um, the way the Islamic community structures itself, they like prioritize property that is near a masjid or something to that effect. So um, just always like the masjid was a regular part of my life, and it didn't always make sense to me. And honestly, most of the time it didn't make sense to me, but it was just like, this is what we do, and I do it because I have to do it, and certainly I have to do it because my dad is doing it. Like I can't make my dad do anything, and this here's my dad like uh giving like essentially push-ups to this god. I'm like, all right, so let's do it together then. And like really early, the fear of god in the most terrifying sense, just being instilled as like a discipline mechanism, as sort of like the it's sort of like an evil eye curse, where like they want you to feel like you are constantly being observed by an entity that is ready to throw you into eternal hellfire over anything. Just go ahead and try and misstep. Like like this entity is itching for an excuse. So all right,
Wow,
better not.
that is good. That is good. So you were so a lot of Muslims come up and they say whoever leaves Islam actually does not know Islam, but you grew up going to mosque almost every day, multiple times a day. You
Right.
knew Arabic, so you do not even need a translation of the Quran. So when you read Arabic, you can just read and comprehend.
I when
So
I was young, I had more Quran memorized when I was young than I do now. Like and I still have Quran memorized even though I'm not even practicing. It's just so drilled in there.
so you did some memorization of the Quran as well. And by the way, if you know Arabic, then it will be much easier for you to memorize it as well.
That much is true.
Perfect. You have some microphone issue, constant. So just try to like keep it at one location if possible because it's coming in over here as well. So just letting you know for the
Okay.
audience as well. Okay, let me say something for the audience. Somebody triggered everyone in the live chat. That guy has an account which was created in May 2024, which is this month. It's not even June. May 14th. Probably a person who wants to create a another fight in the live chat. My rules of the live chat are very simple. Stick to the topic. If you want to have any issue with the topic, let me know. I will open the live stream. Once this testimony is done, once his life story is done, I will open the live stream. So it will gonna take what? 40 to 45, 50 minutes, and then I will open the live stream. Whoever has an issue, they can come up. But having a live debate in the live chat, I do not allow, no matter who that person is. It does not matter what faith, dharam, ideology, theology you belong to. It does not matter. This is my channel, my rules, and my rules are very simple. No side debates. You want to do side debates? Please send your Discord link to everyone. Go have a side debates with them over there, not over here. Listen to what our brother over here is telling you. This is very important. Why it is important? Because he left the faith of his forefathers and now he's a target just like me. Because in Islam, if you leave your religion, you ideally should be killed. If he was in Arab and he was proclaiming that, he would have been killed. So once again, I don't have to repeat anything to anybody, no matter who that person is. It's a standard operating procedure of my channel, and my moderators are going to work for that, and they are going to keep the chat clean. No distraction. Stick over here. Because if you're going to do that chat, you won't even know what this guy is saying. And he is giving us his precious time to tell you about his life story, which is very important for everyone to understand. All right? All right. Let's go forward. So now, brother, you are deeply rooted inside Islam
Yes.
and you had memorized a lot of Quran. What happened? Did you change your country? Did your father took you out of Arab country, or what happened?
So it so I was in the Arabic country for a prolonged period at one point, and then came back to the States, and then that was pretty much because a lot of these different countries have mandatory conscription laws, and so um, it was getting to that point where just looking like I could be because like there's a lot of people that were running away from the military essentially, and so there's constantly people, and like at that time I was like really enjoying shaving my head, and so I looked like a recruit, um, and they were just like, all right, listen, we don't want to like risk any problems. It was getting really heated in the area at the time, and they decided that it was best to just stay in the States. um, and so I continued my higher education in the States after being in the old country for a while. And like while I was in the old country, that's when a lot of the drilling was taking place. Like I was during the time that I was back and forth between the States and the old country, like I was also getting it drilled in. Um, but I had access to like Saturday morning cartoons, and like I was still able to socialize with people that were not under the influence of that culture. And so I always felt like I could like something about Islam makes it so that like just socializing outside, it's like when you're in a cult you don't really know how to socialize outside the cult. And so all the people that you end up associating with are either like friends of the masjid or direct nuclear family. And like I still had that part of me where I was like out in the world and learning how to develop friendships with new people, and just like I had a love for life and a love for people at that point that wasn't extinguished. Um,
Perfect, perfect. So before I dig into this, this is the guy. Um, Mr. Khan, let me ask you something. Are you willing to have a debate with him in Arabic? If you are, let me know. I'll bring you up. Let's have a debate first in Arabic. And once that is done, then he can tell us everything else. Because this guy, according to you, was never a Muslim. His voice sounds like a white American. So let's have a debate in Arabic. Let's see
okay.
if he is Arab enough for you,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Khan.
لا لا حكينا حكينا.
Mr. Khan, brother, there you go. Let's have a debate in Arabic with him. If you can win this discussion and debate, you're right. Otherwise, shut up, right? All right, brother. So basically, what you're saying is you moved to states, as you said, and even in states, because you were from a cultish movement, you remained within your cultish brothers and sisters,
Right.
because obviously, there's a lot of things like non-Muslims are najis as well, and non-Muslims eat haram food, they don't eat halal food, and so on and
Right.
so forth. So our parents keep us within the within our type of people, so that we'll stick to our people and we won't even look outside. So when you came to state, you first had your whole gathering, which was all the same. And then what happened, brother?
Um, School really offered the chance for me to just like after school activities was tremendous. I mean, socializing in school is one thing, but being able to be in social clubs really started to help shape me develop myself as an individual in a way that I'm realizing in hindsight that growing up under Islam, as far as the variety of social exposure that my elders were exposed to, and like I feel like this is more so specifically issues that concern the father, to be honest with you. Most of the time I feel like the issues will concern the men as far as Islam is concerned, because women are normally the victim in the circumstance, and any of the women that are complicit are usually just trying to win favor with an abuser, but ultimately they just end up getting abused just the same.
Perfect, very well said, very well said. And
I'm sorry, can you help guide my thought one more time?
I'm actually trying to move forward on what made you start questioning uh, your religion, because now you are living among infidels,
Right,
yet you are among your fellow friends, not infidels, the Mormons basically. So
right,
there is no way to come out of this cult unless you have some kind of an influence of a foreign uh, actor, because otherwise we live in our own world and nobody is asking us question, nobody is doing something, nobody is saying something, so we can't move out of it. The whole idea is
right,
like when Muslim moves to a foreign country, western country as well, they remain within themselves. Because they remain within themselves and every other person is an infidel, they never come out of this circle of infidelity and non-infidelity, and
right.
they never try to question their own faith. But whoever comes out of their faith, they always have an actor. What was your actor, brother?
So I'm blessed in that I have several siblings, and among those siblings is one that was the product of infidelity, because my father decided to basically uh, at that point his iman wasn't so strong, right? So uh, people do what they will, and there are consequences to that. And instead of being the father that child needed, they decided to go and seek a proper wife in the old country, and um, that is a whole mess. Um,
So let me
but
get this
ultimately,
straight. Let me get this
yeah,
straight.
yeah,
Your
go
father
ahead.
came to States first and he married a infidel Christian woman,
Right,
and nobody knew about that.
and that was a secret.
That was a secret. Then your father went back to his Arab country, and over there he married another Muslima. So he has two wives now.
Right,
Perfect. So you came to States and you found out that your father has another wife who has another children,
right.
or children or child. Okay,
Is one is child.
child.
Yeah,
So that
but that
child is
yeah,
a Christian child from a Christian woman.
that's correct.
Oh my goodness. Hey,
Yeah,
listen, you Christian girls in the West, you idiots. Whoever wants to marry a Muslim, this is what happens. You need to understand that. A Muslim can marry four wives, up to four wives. A Muslim can marry a Jew or a Christian because supposedly they are Ahl al Kitab. A Muslim man can marry a Jew or Christian. A Muslim woman cannot marry a Jew or Christian for sure. But a Muslim man can marry a. And you idiots go and find so called love. You know, the Bible says marry equally yoked. A yoke is a wooden thing that connects two oxes to cultivate the land. And this yoke is placed always on two equally powerful, equally workable, equally runnable oxes. That is what it is called yoke. And yet again, the Christian women do not realize in the West, and they somehow pervert the scriptures and marry a man who's a Muslim, knowing that a Muslim man can have up to four wives. For him, marriage is nothing but a contract, and he can cancel the contract anytime. Whereas a Christian woman, you marry till death takes it apart. So, you know, these Muslim Christian women, they need to realize what stupidity they are doing when they are marrying a Muslim man. But with by saying that, right now it seems like that marriage was a blessing for you, brother.
100%. Definitely, I credit her coming into the world and the love and care that and guidance that her mother provided. Guidance that was provided by the structure of the church. Come to find later in my life, it 100% changed everything about the way that I experienced the world. Before she came in, because otherwise, like we were worlds apart, and so like we are in our own little insulated, doing the five prayers and all of that, and then they're off. Like there's distance between us, and then there's also culture between us. Like even if they were to be having a cookout, there's like that issue with the pork, for example. Like even if there's just bacon grease that happens to like get around on the platter, suddenly the whole platter becomes non-halal. And so
Obviously.
what are you going to do? And they don't want to be non-pious. And I'm just like, so you would deny yourself the experience with members of your family over, and it's like what that also inherently communicates as far as like on a base level how they perceive the other person. Like, oh, this thing that like even the slightest mote of this grease, if it were to touch my lips, I would feel compelled to have to sanitize it 7 times over. And here these beasts are just gorging themselves with it. Like the way that you just look at people changes.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So you have a same family, and your two of your mothers do not live together. One is a stepmother and one is a. So the stepmother is a Christian. She has a daughter, which is your half sister. And even when you go to their home, you have a lot of issues because of non-halal and halal food. And wow, so how would you survive there? What she has to change her routine, she has to change everything to accommodate you people when you go there.
Right. And it what it translates to is a decreased like comp- like the compulsion to want to reach out to the other person is just extinguished right there, where I'm like, all right, well, like this, like you already, because the family gets so big that it's so easy for a gathering to get out of hand. And so the idea of like, well, like we're already going to have a bunch of people, maybe not extending the invitation that way will just make it so that the sink doesn't get so overwhelmed or something like that. Like there's, it's not for lack of having people to interact with or laughs and jokes to go around. Like it's one of those things where we'd love to have you, but like don't think you'll be missed. You know, it's just one of those things where we also love for you to find your bliss. And if your bliss is not with us, God bless. Like, go do you. If you're not going to add to the scene, you're going to take from the scene. And so just whatever makes you happy. No one wants you to be around to be like, I can't eat that. This music is haram. People are going to be drinking a couple beers around me casually. I can't even stomach sitting in this circle. The haram is too strong. I'm like, all right, great. So we basically have, like, as if our nuclear family wasn't small enough, further severing ourselves from nuclear family.
Wow. I can't even imagine what your stepmother is going through at this moment, because everyone around her are Muslims and she is the infidel who, and her friend circle are just denounced, right? Like, like I can't even put my feet in her shoes. Like your stepmother, I can't even put my shoes in her feet, my feet in her shoes, because like if I will be disgraced like this and my friends will be disgraced like this, I would be like, man, seriously, f off. I don't care. So
Which is what essentially happened.
I'm amazed that she coped up to this extent anyways. Like quite frankly, she coped up to this extent. I salute her that she even went this far, where her family, her friend circle, her extended family is not welcomed, and they have to change their ways to meet your father's family or your father's friend and you people and your mother and all. This is a wow kind of a feeling, man. This is like completely wow feeling. And that's why I say a Christian woman marrying a Muslim, she has to be mentally retarded to do this, because if she knew what is in their scripture, how they live their life and how they will treat her eventually, she will never do that. But yes, so you're telling me that's how what happened. So eventually she left your father?
Well, see, the way that the marriage terminated as soon as the marriage with my mother happened, essentially.
Yeah, because your father in states cannot have two wives. So she had a wife here in states. He went back to his country, had another wife, then brought her to states. So he has to terminate one wife.
Right.
So he
And so
terminated his Christian wife, because
exactly.
probably now he has the green card or the nationality, so he doesn't need her.
Set.
Perfect. So yeah, so your father basically married a Christian woman to get green card or nationality of United States. Once he got it, he went back, got a Muslim woman, brought her here, divorced her, and that's it.
Something to that effect.
Perfect. Now what happened? Now you're living with your mother, but do you still see your, while you are living your mother, do you still see your old mother?
Yeah. So, as far as my relationship with the mother of my other sibling is concerned, um, we would have these weekend visits. And so, after we came back to the States to stay for a while, um, in order for my dad to have some time to himself, um, what he was up to during those times are debatable, but he certainly left a fair amount of clues that I won't get into right now. But um, we would go for the weekend and spend it with them. And at that time, like, I was still like, if there was pork in the dish or something, like, they would either explicitly, like, not tell me about it because I'm a kid and, like, they've been eating it their whole lives and they know that there's nothing wrong with it, and, like, it would make us feel more alien to do something like that. Like that, like, for her to enforce Sharia that way, like, A, she doesn't believe in it in the first place, but then B, to like remind us of it. Cause, like, at that point, the eye on, like, that evil eye on the shoulder that is just like watching all the time, like, the intensity of that decreased when I was outside of the nest, when I was outside of the immediate perimeter of surveillance. So when I go over there, I felt like it was almost like this retreat where I'm like, oh my god, like I could feel my rib cage open up a little bit more even when I was over there. I'm just like everything just they're moving on a different time. They're moving on a different vibe in this environment, and like the way that the family is all interacting, even with all of the problems that exist within the family. Because I mean, it wasn't without the occasional shouting match, but that the shouting matches were like, if let's say if the shouting was 20%, the hugs and the kisses on the cheek were 85%. It was just like,
Typical Arab culture, man.
oh my
Typical
god.
Arab culture.
So to see
So
the
let me
contrast.
let me reverse back a little.
Sure, sure.
So you said a couple of things, and I want to focus on that. You said your father would leave you for a week. Sorry, to
Yeah, we
your
would spend
biological, non-biological mother.
right.
Hmm?
We would spend
Okay,
weekends there, and so the weekends,
weekend. So
yeah.
so when you go weekend, you use the word kid. When you say kid, for me it's like 7 years, 8 years, nine
Oh,
years.
okay, okay,
That's
fair
kid.
enough, fair enough. Yeah, at that point, I would say I was like a kid of 16.
So 16, 17, 18 is not a kid.
Yeah, fair enough. I
So
think maybe even to be honest with you, I was more like 14 at that point. Honestly, I'm
okay.
just after I age enough years, I
So when you say 16, you are in high school.
right. So
Okay,
I start, yeah, I think that fair enough. So I would be a teenager at that point. I say
perfect.
kid.
So
Yeah, yeah, I say kid loosely, but I would be a teenager.
yeah,
That'd be
let's
accurate.
fix that. Let's fix that. So you
Okay.
were
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your high
thank you.
school approximately. You were in your
Right.
high school approximately, and your father would leave you with your sister from another mother, where you would spend your weekends. Perfect. And there you are exposed to a different kind of an environment, which is not your normal environment, which is all Muslim environment. And now you're going into an environment where things are a little different, and they
Right.
have the liberty to have a very flexible life. And you were seeing that life. And then you come back to your own life, and you would see shouting
Joyless.
match
Right.
and after shouting match, hugs and kisses, but then again shouting match, which is a very
Right.
normal culture. And then you go over there some weekend, and you would see things are very different. So first thing is the cultural shock. A free culture versus a very confined in your own kind of an environment culture where a shouting match is very common. So that's something that impacted you to begin with. But we are still not there. So now you are 16, 17. You have been going there from the last couple of years, some weekends every month, or one
Right.
weekend every month, whatever. And now you are 16, 17. Did
Right.
somebody poke you? Did somebody take you somewhere? What just happened which made you question your faith?
So the first experiences that I had in a church were
Church?
the
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hello, hello. You are a Muslim. How can you go in a
right.
church? What just happened here? You gotta back up and tell me, how can you go to a
Okay.
church?
So being that household is completely Christian. It's not that it's predominantly. It is totally Christian. And they are very much deep in the faith to the best that they can be. I mean, with respect to the flaws that a human possesses, that they try their best to walk in the example of Christ with each other and themselves. And I could feel that in the house. And there would be like, I would, at that point in my life, I was still playing video games. Like, I was still sitting on computers. I still like really enjoyed watching TV and eating snacks. And so I would go over there with enough frequency that um, there would be so many Sundays that would come up, and they'd be like, "All right, Sam, we're going to church," and I'm like, okay, well, I think I'd rather watch cartoons." And so enough persistence, and I felt like it was a, like after saying no enough times, and then me just being like bored watching TV all the time, be like, okay, you know what? I may as well come and see.
What happens in a church? That's a
And it seemed pretty alien to me, you know, after doing the sujud and just like, you know, it's like follow the leader style prayer. There was like, I would sit, and it was like it reminded me of the Friday khutbah. But I felt like there was just more of, like, instead of standing in rows, people were sitting in rows, and that it was just more of like a gathering and less of a stand at attention. Like, I feel like it reminds me more of like a military lineup when I see the rows of the people that are bowing down, as opposed to just the contrast of, you know, there's like everyone that is in that church is like making sure to greet the other person. If there's a stranger in that church, like I was a stranger in that church, so many people approached me and were just like, oh hi, I know that you're the brother of so and so, like, welcome, you know, hope you have a good experience, here's like some literature, this, that, and the third. And like, you know, I mean, it wasn't so much pressure as it was just like making me aware of resources that were available to me, and like just being open-hearted, open-handed, open-armed. um, and it just, I was like, I don't even know you people. It
wow.
just
So
felt
the
so
first thing
strange.
that impacted you was the warm welcoming of the Christians and how they treat each other in the church, and the difference between a mosque and a church, how mosque lineup is more of a military lineup versus the Christian church is more of a sit down and relax and greet each other. And so basically you were a, so that's happening somewhere when you were 16 or 17, right? So you have been going to a mosque every day, even in the States, and then Sunday comes, Saturday you go to this house some Saturdays, and then Sundays you basically rejected to go to church many a times, and then suddenly one Sunday you went there and you felt the difference. Okay,
Right.
what happened after that? Because now as a Christian, as a Muslim, going to a church would be like, okay, let me just experience it. But something happened there. Did you find some friends there? Did you make some friends there or what?
Right. I started making the, like, deep friendships. Like, I felt like it
What?
was, yeah, yeah, I felt like they adopted me as a brother in a way that I hadn't felt. And it was just so special that I felt compelled to continue to come back. And first, it was on the strength of just the social bonding. Like, at that point, I didn't really have any grasp on the scripture. Like, I didn't really know the doctrine that bound everyone together. I was just experiencing the fruit of their joy and their peace. Um, but still, that was enough for me, especially having been so starved for so long, that I wanted to be around it to, like, absorb it one way or the other, you know, through understanding, through experience. That, like, you know, when I feel like I'm in the company of someone that has answers that I'm looking for, I'm compelled to be around them. And they might not even know, like, why. Like, being drawn to people that I feel like have the answers may just point me in the direction of the people that inspired them. And maybe that person can help better explain to me where they were able to draw their piece from. Because so many times, like, I'll see a hour-long seminar and it'll explain something to me so eloquently and clearly, but like, I wish that I could communicate that kind of piece as clearly to anyone that were to ask me about it, because that person that spoke about it was just so disciplined in what they were speaking about that I don't know that I can copy that as effectively.
Nice, 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 nice. That reminds me of my first visit to a church. You know, I was pretty mature when I went to the church, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna change the topic just for a little bit.
Sure.
and I went to the church for the very first time, and I was like, I was very shaky in Islamic um, faith at that particular time, and I wanted, I just somehow I went to the church because there was some musical group coming there, and I was like, okay, let's go there. And that musical group, I did not know that Christians worship in music as well. I was like, huh, musical group, and I was going there because okay, the church has a musical group coming, and I was like, hoo ha! I'll see a musical group. I had no idea that musical group will be a Christian worship musical group, and I was like, I went there for the very first time in a church, and the church was, and they started praying, and they were praying for everyone. They were praying for Muslims, they were praying for atheists, they were praying for agnostics, they were praying for everyone. They were praying for literally everyone. I was like, huh. And I was thinking in my brain that when I go to Pakistan in a mosque, we say, Ya Allah, oh Allah, curse the Jews, curse the Christians, give cancer to America, give cancer to these American Christians who are doing this and this and this and this, give cancer to Britain, kill them, destroy. And I was like, dude, that's a very different kind of a vibe that these people are giving. We are cursing them. We want to get them off from this earth, and they are praying for everyone. And I was like, I was listening to this prayer, and I was like, what is happening here? That's like a 380, 360, whatever. It's going in a very opposite direction. And when I hear your thoughts about these people, it just reminds me of my first experience of a worship, listening to a worship in a Christian church, and I was like, man, what are these people? Are they idiot or what? Like this, like yeah, 180. Thank you, Siddhartha. It's not 360. It will go back to zero if it's 360. So thank you for reminding me. It's 180. So yeah, it's just literally 180. It's just altogether an opposite direction of kind of a prayer. In our prayer, like it just boggles my mind still. Like even now, when I try to pray for these lost people in this cult, it still boggles my mind. Like what where was I? What have I been doing all my life? Why I have I been cursing these people? It's just unbelievable. All right, so anyhow, coming back to you, brother.
Yes, sir.
So you made some friends there. What next? What happened next?
So from then on, it just started building. And I just started going to church more and more. And I was just like, you know what? I think these Christians are onto something. Um, and there was a while where I was like uh, really deep in youth group. Um, I was like basically undercover Christian for a portion of my life. Uh,
Undercover Christian. Not knowing
yeah,
that you were Christian, but still undercover Christian. Okay.
yeah. I was just in a very exploratory mode, and I was in a very doubtful, critical mode because the way that I mean, it took very many strikes of the rod before I learned certain parts of the Quran. And so my memories of being Muslim, like I remember so early, I was 10 years old, I think, when the first time that I was crying in fear while I was praying. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So I don't really care for those days.
So have you ever cried in the church while you were still a Muslim slash half Christian, half Muslim?
I have cried in the church.
So you still had the basic aura of a Muslim mindset in your
You,
brain.
I will say actually in contrast that um, the tears that I experienced in a masjid were tears of fear of someone who I had come to understand as merciful but also absolutely and completely merciless. So like so much of
Woo!
what I
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Oh my God. Say it again. Say it again.
So I came to realize at one point that I'm bowing down to a God that is simultaneously merciful and absolutely, completely ruthless
Mm.
and
And merciless. Ooh, you have
merciless.
described Allah perfectly, man. This is just beautiful sentence. I am going to use this in Allah. Wow. I had no idea. Like I've been doing this for over 5 years, and I have never ever thought of describing Allah in this regard. Never. Who claims to be fully merciful, yet he is completely ruthless and merciless. Wow! Beautiful, beautiful sentence. Love it. I am definitely going to use that in my upcoming shows. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I remember being that young and being told that the prayers that I would miss, I would make up on a hotbed of coals.
Ooh la la.
You know, what's a child supposed to do with that kind of information?
Ah man, I can totally get you. I totally get you.
I'm
So
sorry, you were saying.
your half sister, what is her role in all this? Like, did she started giving you some contrast? Did she
Oh
work
yeah,
with you?
oh yeah. She was early dawa for
Early dawa.
Christ.
Oh my goodness. Good way. Good. All right. Yes, I
Oh
want to
God.
hear something.
Yeah, she very much believed, and she felt like the love that she experienced in her home was a reflection of the love of God, and it fortified her faith. And she saw the contrast, much in the way that I saw the contrast going over there. She experienced the contrast coming over to our nest, and so it's sort of like if you're a compassionate person and you've been in a war zone and you're just like I can't just leave these orphans here. I got to do something. And so like out of compassion, she was just like I see that y'all are doing bad in here actually. And we also could see that they were doing really good. Like they were just generally like happy and free and like smile on their face and singing and just enjoying life. And I'm just like, when will the end come?
Wow. Yeah. See, that's the beauty of Christ. You're free in Christ. You're literally free in Christ. So, as a Muslim, you will see the bondages and the chains once you realize and see the other people. Like as like when I broke those chains, I realized how much of a bondage I was in, you know.
Right.
And now
I feel
you are a teenager in your almost in your adulthood. Probably
right.
now you would be 18 now because you
Right.
started
Getting
going
to
there 16, now you're 18, 19,
yeah.
and you have been going to church and you're in some of the weekends of the, and now you're saying that you would long for that weekend where you are supposed to spend time with your stepmother
Right.
and half sisters so that you could go to a free house where you have some freedom rather than these bondages and chains, where you
Right.
could go to the church and meet this church family. So you are inclined towards them because of their freedom, because of
Also,
their faith, because of the love of God and not the wrath of God. So you have a very mixed kind of a feeling at this moment. So what made you finally break this chains? Let's bring it to that now.
okay. I think that I realized um, just how much hypocrisy was playing out in my own household, and after having seen enough of the contrast with Christianity, um, I adopted a lot of the principles of Christianity, but like after a certain point, um, being that I still was housed in what I felt like was a prison, and that you know it's like one of those things where let's say like your prison sentence is like 6 years. Like let's say you don't know how long your prison sentence is and they meant to put you in there for 6 years, and by the fifth year you become convinced that you're condemned for life, and like just lose all hope. Like I feel like at one point I hit a breaking point and I just didn't know how I could emancipate myself from this situation. And so I
Ouch.
yeah.
So you,
And
yes,
so
I can understand. You are pretty young already, unmarried. You are relying on your parent for your survival, and now you are in a crossroad.
right.
Where to go? So yeah, that's like at your age. Like if I was at your age, 18, 19, I have this crossroad. That's a very, very difficult situation to cross that red line and say, I don't believe in Islam now. So
Right.
yeah, I really
My
want to
life.
hear when and what happened, how you crossed that red line.
So the red line is a very strange turn of events where I end up meeting someone who I fall in love with that loves me as a poor man. You know, I'm someone who is still like an unestablished, like I no business to my name, like I'm not even like driving my own car, like I'm bike bound. I'm just like basically she took me just on the merit of me, and because she could see me for me like that, I just became so in love in a way that it it drowned out everything else that was happening around me, and there was the opportunity to go with them to California, um, and
You're giving
so
too many details of your locations. I hope you
no,
should stay
yeah,
away
yeah, no,
from.
I'm far. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to illustrate that because California is a certain culture, yeah,
Okay.
and also California is humongous. Like, good luck finding mortadella in California.
Okay.
Um, but the idea being that in California, there's like big communities of like hippie pagans. So I only
Okay.
mentioned
I
that.
don't know about this term. What do you mean when you say hippie pagans? I have
So
no
so
idea what it means.
okay, I can elaborate a little bit. So there's basically people that uh, are they blend a lot of the different religions into each other, and are essentially like hedonist, like there will be like, to illustrate the characteristics, and maybe that'll help point out what I mean. Like they will simultaneously collect precious stones, and make altars out of them and
So
burn.
they are like mix of all the religions into one
Right.
religion. So okay, got it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
And so I found myself suddenly in a mix of people like this. And I'd never been in like much in the way that I hadn't been around the Christians. I hadn't been around that either. And
You're experiencing the world, man. You're experiencing
right,
America in true sense. America, the
truly,
country of, everything,
right, mishmash.
Yeah. And
And I
it's
got
it's a beautiful thing because you can see and experience a lot of things. I have been to America a few times, and um, I've seen like the learning and experience based learning potential in America is so huge. You can't find it anywhere else. You can't find it in Britain. You can't find it in Germany. You can't find it in Singapore. You can't like the experience and exposure to so many cultures, to so many. It's just too much. It's just overwhelming. It's
I felt
unbelievable.
that. I 100% felt that at first, where I was just the culture shock for me was very strong, because with the pagan culture also comes a normalization of drug use. And so I'm like, oh, like everyone is suddenly smoking around me. Like I grew up in a house where people didn't even drink alcohol, and now like cannabis is being smoked everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I know nothing apparently. Like there's a whole wide world out here, and everyone else seems to be completely fine with what's happening around them, even though this is completely alien to me. Um,
Wow. So
and so,
you were shocked to see people having marijuana or something like that, right? That's what it is.
right, yeah, it was just a very different. like not only was it haram, like this was also entering the territory of like, as far as the household that I grew up in and the people that they would turn a blind eye to them just disappearing off the map for one reason or the other. Like I felt like I was suddenly in a circle of people where like maybe they would tolerate the Christians and like argue with them, and like the the eventual jizya and jihad would come later, but like these people, they're happy to deal with now. I was like, oh,
Wow, wow.
I'm deep in the den right now of the people that my upbringing would consider to be evil. And I felt like part of that, because I felt like there was so much ignorance around what is evil in my house, because I just saw so much evil being done that I was like, what do you know of evil even? Like, that I was like,
Hmm.
maybe these people
Say it
have
again, say it
answers.
again, say it again, say it again. This is, you have seen so much evil in your house that
Right.
like imagine somebody saying, I've seen so much evil in my house already, that seeing these hippies having marijuana and having orgies and everything. I just searched on Google right now and saw some hippie videos and links while you were speaking, and seems like they are flourishing on marijuana and orgies kind of a stuff. That's like a very different culture. I never thought of that culture at all. And then you are saying that growing up on a house, and you are saying that these people has no idea what evil is. Now that shocks me.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, you don't have the answers for me. And so I basically felt like the the quote unquote universe was compelling me to touch the stove with my own hands because I couldn't rely on the guidance around me to tell me what was hot.
Wow. Okay. Now I want to know more. Then.
So being in their company, I started uh, adopting a lot of their practices, and without even realizing it, my Islamic upbringing wove into the paganism so easy. And I was
What do you
like,
mean by
oh,
that? What do you mean by that? Repeat. What
so
do you mean by that?
so I felt like first of all, just starting on the basis of the moon, right? This hyper emphasis on the moon. And
Yeah.
like every every other song in Arabic is about the moon. Like
Yeah.
it's the night and the moon. And like I also grew up just like being fascinated with the moon. And be, like what could have been a fascination with the moon that was that could have translated in my brain as like a giving credit to God, creator of the universe. It just turned into like a marveling at the moon in a way where I could only see the magnificence of the moon. Like I didn't have an understanding of God to give proper accreditation. And
So let's
so I
rewind. Just let's rewind. Hold on. I'm gonna stop you here. I'm gonna rewind, and then I'll come back to this next topic.
okay, okay.
So you are not the first guy who said that Arab culture is so much fascinated about the moon. I had a couple of discussions and debates with, not debates, discussions and sessions with Usama Dakdok. Usama Dakdok is a Egyptian Arab. Okay, he's an Orthodox Christian now. He comes from an Orthodox Christian family in Arab. He has studied from Muslim, Islamic, Arab universities and colleges before he moved to America. Now, with that being said, when he, as a Christian who was always born in a Christian family, let's just put it this way, who is always a Christian in a Christian family, when he tells me about fascination of the moon and the moon songs, I always thought maybe he's exaggerating. I always thought he is saying because Allah comes from La, which is a moon god, and he might be a little bit of a, one-sided kind of a thing. But you coming from a Muslim family and you're telling me that most of the songs that you heard in your life were about moon. That kind of gives me another storyline, Tell me something more. Why the moon is so much appreciated in that culture?
I mean, I think that part of it is uh, what does you mean the hippie culture or the
No,
Islamic
no, in
culture?
your Islamic culture in the Middle East, you said you were listening to the moon songs all your life. So now I want to go
Right.
back. I'm sorry, I'm moving you backwards.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
my
It's
fault.
fine. It's fine. No, no, no. It's fine. I think the fascination of the moon is one of those things where it's like we we do it a lot, but don't ask about it. It's just kind of assumed to be standard. Like, oh yeah, talking. That's like going ya lil, like singing about the night. And I'm like, okay, well, any idea why we're singing about the night too? Seeing as how the moon exists within the night. Uh, it's like no, this is we don't bring it into it's canon. I think that's the word that I'm looking for. Like something is when something is canon, then it's just like, oh, this is how we do things and it's how it's been done. And the reason why we do it is that this is how it's been done.
Now this is the same thing. Don't ask question. And this is how we do it because it is how it is done. It's the same thing. Don't ask questions. So you never questioned why there are so many songs about the moon in the in the Middle Eastern culture.
Right. I mean, I'm being that I was it like fascinated with the moon as I was with the sun, but the difference is that I can't let my eyes lock with the sun and just stare at it. Like the moon has this special quality where you can, if especially if it's like a bright moon out, you can just look up at it and keep looking at it and like get lost in thought looking at it. And when you're at night, typically you're going to be in a more contemplative state of mind. You're going to be most likely staying up with peers and being festive. And like that's usually when like important conversations and meetings are happening. It's just like the nighttime is an important time for the human, especially during Arabia. Like everyone was asleep in their tents when that sun was out.
Yep, yep. Yeah. Wow, that's like a lot of things, lot of information in one go because like there is a lot of moon culture and I totally get that. And sometimes I also get fascinated why as a Muslim we give so much of a reverence to moon. But even listening from an Arab that they give so much reverence to moon, it's sometimes, it it fascinates me sometimes. Like, wow, so the culture and everything, it's just there. No matter what you do, it's just there. You can't just run away from this. That is crazy. Uh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's
Okay.
it's there it's there for anyone that wants to see it. It's like it's hiding in plain sight. It's just like so in our face.
Awesome.
Like yeah. So
So
I
now
felt
coming back to your
yeah.
same point, so coming back to your recent, let me move you back
Sure, sure,
to the
sure.
recent point now.
By all means.
So now you are here, you are fascinated with the moon, you remember these moon, and now you are in the hippie culture. What next?
Right. So I enter this period where I I still have belief in Allah, but I felt like I was kind of much in the way that like when a Sunni turns Shia and they're like, "Oh my god, like I've expressing my Islam wrong all along." Where I'm like, all right, like I don't know that any of like I believe that in Allah because I believe in the magnificence of creation, and Allah is the only language that I've been provided to really encapsulate that. Um, but I was like, these people don't know what Allah is. Like I've seen too much from the people that proclaim to be the pious. I don't have to look too hard on the news to see the things that disgust me, done in the name of the faith. And I something along the way got lost is the way that I was thinking. And so I was like, in my mind, I was like, what was it like to be among the first Muslims? Like I started basically trying to like revert all the way back to like mixing my imagination, because I was fed certain hadith about Muhammad. So like really early on, I had this idea of Muhammad basically being like Jesus with a sword.
Huh? 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 What?
Yeah.
And that like that's another first thing that I've heard. Muhammad is like Jesus with a sword. Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the talking out of the both sides of the mouth thing. We're like very peaceful, but also will behead 10 people in a swing. It's like, all right, don't catch him on a bad day, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
So um that to say, I'm sorry, refresh me the question real quick.
Yeah, so you are with the hippie culture, you are still worshipping Allah, and I am still trying to see you are trying to convince them or think about convincing them that they are doing this because they are not with Allah and all that. So now what happened next?
Right. So I basically started creating my own sect of Islam, and like, because I started learning about the Sufis, and I was like, okay, the Sufis, because I started looking into Rumi, the poet, and I was like, all right, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, where are the poets? Where are the musicians? Where are the lovers? Where are the forgivers? Where are the dancers? Where the theater? Like, so much of what I love about my own culture is considered haram by the major sects, and I'm like, this cannot be true. This cannot be right. I refuse to accept that this is right. And then I found a sect that honored these people, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not completely murtad quite yet. Maybe I am Muslim, but like
So you
I
found
gotta.
Sufis.
I started learning about the Sufis at that point, and it was through Rumi. Like first I learned about Rumi, and then I started looking into the Sufis. That was like gateway into Sufism.
Wow. So Sufism was created somewhere in the 15th century, late 15th century, to infiltrate India because Indian culture had a lot of music and dance culture and all that, and they were infiltrated. And to infiltrate them, the Sufism started, and they tried to infiltrate it, and they were pretty successful, quite frankly. Let me say that. Like even today, in the 21st century, Hindus would go to the Sufi temples, and they would buy flowers and the bed sheet kind of a thing, and they would put it on the grave, and they would they would put money in their grave temples kind of a stuff. So Sufis were very very successful in India, and I had never thought that Sufis will be very successful in America as well, trying to convince a Muslim to stay as a Muslim yet be a Sufi. And you know that, and let me tell you, every single Shia and Sunni major sects, they believe that Sufis are an abomination to Islam and they are not even Muslims. And yet, person like you would say, okay, Sufism saved me from being a murtad. Wow. Wow.
Right,
Man, that is crazy. Okay. What next? So you became kind of a Sufi now. Okay.
right. And that
By the
was
way,
only able. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This reminded me of something. This reminded me of something of a Sufi, you know, dance. Let me show you. The music is edited. Instead of Allahu, I added some music.
Oh my God.
Wallah Habibi, that is Sufi dance.
Adam, you know what? I saw this video, and at that time in my life, like, I thought that this was so cool.
And you loved it, right? You loved this
I loved
Sufi
it.
dance.
Honestly, I love this. I love the idea of being in that circle, to be honest with you.
You love the idea of being in this circle because now Sufism, music, dance, all shaky shaky in one go, and you still want to be a Muslim. And this is like they're doing the wird of Allahu over here. So like it's a mixture. So they wanted to uh, they wanted to create a mixture in the Indo-Pak region in India. By the way, Sufism started from Indo-Pak region. It did not start it from anywhere else. So the extreme of Sufism is this. So once again, let me tell you, I added the music myself. Okay.
It was a nice
It-
touch.
no, I'm gonna give you another video where I added another music of my own. Okay.
Okay.
uh and I'm gonna show you this video. But in this video, you remember, this is a Sufi monk. Okay, I'm trying to translate it into English. The problem is that when I'm speaking Urdu, it's very easy to explain that. But this is a Sufi monk trying to send Sufi spirits into his Sufi followers. Okay, so this is what he's doing. Let me show it to you.
Okay.
Sonic boom! Sonic boom!
Uh-huh.
Tiger uppercut! Uppercut! You lose! Tiger uppercut! 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 You lose!
Oh my
So by
god.
the way, you were inspired by this Sufism. By the way, this is the Sufi guru who's trying to convey the Sufi spirits into his followers. But like, take a little more, little more.
Round two. Uppercut! 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 You lose! Uppercut! 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 Hadouken! Uppercut! Uppercut! You lose!
All right, so I think that's more than enough. So somebody
Beautiful.
said, Adam Seeger, can you please explain Sufism for those who of us watching as a group from CP Discord? All right, so Sufism is like when the Muslims invaded India, and they were not India was divided into many small castles and areas, let's just put it this way. uh, Divided, I would say divided because there was no central government in essence. Like India, like unlike Egypt, when Muslims invaded Egypt, Egypt was governed by a centralized government. Once they destroyed the centralized government, the whole Egypt was under their power, under their ruling. Unlike India, India was a huge country. India back in those days would be comprised of the current India plus the current Pakistan plus part of Afghanistan plus Nepal plus Tibet, some area of the Tibet, plus some area of Sri Lanka, but rather most of the area of Sri Lanka and all that. So that was India back in those days. So India was not governed by a single ruler. So Muslims had to conquer each and every fort when they started to invade India. So Muslim tried to invade India and capture it for 800 years, yet they were never successful to capture the whole India in totality. So what they did was they went in, and that is why in India they were never able to enforce jizya as in totality. There was jizya which was enforced in certain regions of India, but never in totality, because they were never able to get to a centralized government in India. So now, here is the thing. They went in, they wanted to infiltrate Islam, yet Muslims wanted to keep the locals in with them, because if they keep the locals with them, they can invade other castles. Because most of the castles in India were won when a uh, an Indian actually opened the doors of the castles from inside, or told them that this wall is the weakest wall, attack this wall and you can win this castle. This is how it happened. Like, uh, any ask any truthful Indian, India would never had fallen unless these people would have told these invaders which part of castle is the weak part. So now they're coming in, they want to infiltrate, and yet they cannot infiltrate. And India has, like back in those days, if you look at it, there was no centralized scripture kind of a thing. There was an area where uh, Ram is being worshipped, right? There's an area where Krishna is being worshipped. There's an area where someone else is being worshipped, and I don't even know all of them. But so there are areas where, and each and every area has its own. So there's no centralized re- religion slash dharam kind of a thing which is there. If you read the old history, so what happened is, in these all of these cultures, they had certain things which are common. Number one, sing, song, worship with the song, worship and songs. And another thing which is common was temples, right? Now, Muslims comes in. They wanted to invade while showing them that we are like you. We accept your culture. So they started Kawali to counter the bhajan of Indian area, and they started this kind of a dance moves that I just showed you already to counter the Indian dances during the worship. So they have the worship dances as well. So they infiltrated in this way, and then they started a new era of Sufism. In Sufism, which is more of a spiritualism. By the way, in Islam, there is no spiritualism. There's literally nothing called spiritualism in Islam unless you come into the Sufism. Okay. So Sufis would do chillas, just like Hindus would do. What is it called? I forgot the name. Uh, they would go into lonely areas. I don't know. Somebody remind me, man. What is it called? When they go into lonely areas and worship their gods, there's something. There's a terminology that they use. Anyhow, so Muslims started the word chilla, sannyas. Thank you, Nomad. So they would go in sannyas, which is the equivalent of chilla, which is kind of like leaving the world apart and going in a sculpture of a loneliness, and then search God, right? Now, Muslims started chilla, which is of certain days, mostly 40 days. And so this is the culture. They were trying to mix and say, we are like you, accept us, we are like you, but we worship Allah, it's another God. You worship Vishnu, we have another God, Allah, accept it. You worship Brahma, we have another God, Allah, accept him. So they were trying to bring acceptance in the middle. If you ask me, I do not have the evidences of this. I cannot provide the evidences of this. But if you ask me, I personally believe this whole movement started as a countermeasure to infiltrate as a spies, Muslim spies in India. I think. I cannot provide the evidence. But this movement grew very strong and very fast, that it became a sect of Islam in itself, and the invaders, Muslim invaders, were not able to uh, control this movement, because Muslims accepted it, Hindus accepted it, the converted Muslims accepted it, and all. And so it became so strong so fast that they were not able to control it, and it became a sect of Islam in itself. And then it was just too late for invaders to control it. But that's just, I think. I cannot prove the evidence, because you think if there is an evidence they would leave the evidence beside, because it was an infiltration technique. So this is what it is. And I'm talking about Sufism. If you go all the way to the 11th century, 12th century, 9th century, Sufism was not there. Sufis of that time were called higher authority. They were on the higher authority than muftis, in fact. So they were called Sufis, not Sufism. Sufism is different than the Sufi itself. The 9th century, 12th century, 11th century, 10th century Sufis were muftis, grand muftis, and the father of all muftis, kind of a thing, right? So even the mufti will go to the Sufi. So he would be like the teacher of the teachers. So he was the principal, kind of a thing. So that word they used, and they infiltrated with that word, but that word became, now it became a very derogatory religious cultish movement of Islam, where most of the majority of Islam will denounce. So this is what Sufi is. So I hope you now got the understanding of what Sufis are. Before I move forward, I need to see something. Reality of Islam said concept of Sufism is a slow poison for the Hindus, but it became a slow poison for the Muslims as well. That's true. Rita Gill, thank you so very much. I knew there are certain questions that came in at that particular time. Miss Wright said, Amir Khusro, a Sufi monk, was such a hardcore that he even bragged cheap Tilak Sahab Chan line. That song talks about forced conversion of Hindus. Obviously, they were converting Hindus. That's why they brought up Sufism. That's exactly why they brought up Sufism. And Atif Nadeem said, Aram bhai, if I don't listen your stream, I feel like I've missed an important thing of my day, which means your streaming complete my day. Thank you so very much, Atif Nadeem. I also welcome our guest who has chosen Christianity. Amen. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. And then we have Farooq Joel gave us a $10 super sticker. Appreciate it. And this lady. Okay, for this lady, I have already opened it. So Miss, I can't even pronounce her name. Natsuki. Here is the answer. So this was not, well of Buddha was not a river. Why? Because the well of Buddha, the dimension of well of Buddha is described in Sunnah Abi Dawud, hadith number 67. This is a Sahih hadith. You can watch it over here, down here. This is Sahih al-Albani. Okay. This is Sunnah Abi Dawud, hadith number 67. Well of Buddha is a very small well. How small? Let's read together. Uh, I have asked the person in charge the well of Buddha about the depth of the well. He replied, at most the water reaches pubes. Then I asked, where does it reach when the level goes down? He replies, below the private part. I measured the breadth of the well of Buddha, which was my sheet, means the sheet that he's covering himself, which I stretched over. I then measured it with my hand. It measured 6 cubit in breadth, and that's it. So it cannot be a river. Okay, 6 breadth wide, 6 cubit wide, equal to the sheet width. Water is as deep as the pubics, is not a river, obviously. So with that being said, Aram is the Utsha Hussain Vikali Sufi song. I have no idea what you are saying, brother. I'm so sorry. I don't listen to Sufi songs, so I cannot answer. Yogi ji, thank you so very much for the super sticker. Shukla ji said you are doing a good work. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. And David said, a momina said man has to ask his wife before marrying another woman. In Islam, in the major important two things are Quran and Hadith. None of them says you have to ask permission from the first wife. Rather, I will prove it to you that you can actually lie to your first wife about having a second wife, because and that is actually approved from the Sunnah. Third, even in Sharia and fiqh, you do not have to ask. So whoever is saying to you that you have to ask your first wife about your second wife, marrying a second wife, tell him to prove it to you with an authentic Sunnah or Quran source. By the way, let me tell you, in Quran chapter number 4, verse number 3, it starts with marry two or three or four of them. It doesn't even start from one. So, David, whoever is saying this to you, he's a liar. Tell him to bring the verse of the Quran or the Hadith which says what he is saying. All right, brother. Thank you so very much, and sorry for this interruption. Now, let's move forward. I want to finish your
Yes.
testimony. How and when you finally left Allah, and what made you finally leave Allah?
I finally left Allah when I ended up coming back from this adventure that I was having,
Mhm.
and
But now
jaded.
you are Sufi. So now you are Sufi. You are still
Right.
there. So what happened? What triggered you?
So I was trying to reintegrate into the Islamic culture, and I felt like after having spent so much time away, and coming back and seeing that absolutely nothing has changed about, like, I didn't feel that there was any progression in any of the relationships. There was just this stagnation and routine, and like I would sit down, I would feel like I'd be living the same day over and over again, where the conversations would revolve around the same subjects. um, the, the the questions that I would be asked would be, if any, such a limited range of like what would be expected of me as a reply, that it was just so clear to me that uh, there's 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 something else going on. Like Ramadan was approaching at that point, and at as we got closer to Ramadan, the intensity of the animosity I was feeling, I was just so upset with Islam as a whole. Like, even though I was expressing myself through Sufism, that I was feeling jaded by the overall ummah, and that like my immediate family was a reflection of the ummah. Um, and I was like, what is even in store for us in the future if we are incapable of developing any kind of genuine bond outside of like money and monitoring each other's piety? You know, are you fasting? Did you pray? Are you fasting? Did you pray? Like, it's pretty much like, okay, I guess that counts for bonding in some reality, but like, isn't it for God to judge me? Like, why are you breathing down my neck? Are you here to ask me whether or not I pray, or do you want to show me how to pray? You know, like, would you care to demonstrate? Because like, even when I would watch them pray, like, it would just be so much hypocrisy. I'm like, don't ask me about whether or not I did my five. You and me both know you didn't do your five. So stop.
Wow. So how old were you?
By the time that I did that, I was 28.
So you were since 16 to 28. Wow. That's like
Yeah.
12 years. That's over a decade.
Yeah.
So now you had your journey from the Sunni Islam. You had a
Right.
journey from a Sunni Islam to a secular Muslim,
Right.
then to a Sufi Muslim,
Right.
and then you are looking at the hypocrisy. So, what was the final nail in the coffin?
So I started looking at apologetics on YouTube. As
Ooh
far as
la
like,
la! Who did
yeah,
you watch first?
Yeah, honestly, I feel really blessed because my algorithm just takes really good care of me. I typed in the apologetics, and somehow, really early into my searching, I came across Soko films.
Oh no!
Yeah,
So you saw Bob, and you saw this
yeah,
perfect.
Bob, and yeah, the whole team are really just uh, admirable people. Utmost respect for the whole team.
Okay. Then what happened? So you
So
started seeing Bob. Did you
right.
encounter Sira International? Did you encounter David Wood? Did you encounter Christian Prince?
So exactly. So I actually didn't really get into the David Wood and the apostate prophet until after I got into Christian Prince.
Oh, so
Um,
you went to Christian Prince first. So right from Bob,
yeah,
you went to
I went
Christian
from
Prince,
Bob to Christian Prince. Like,
and then
I
you
mean,
are
I just
done.
feel so
Then
fortunate. Yeah, yeah. It
then
was
you're
really
done.
just like it was a 1-2 combo. I was just like, having it communicated to me by someone in uh, like a British accent, eloquently and clearly, and matter of factly, and then having it communicated to me in someone who is like native Arabic speaker, a writer, like just a well decorated man in general. Like, he's not a dummy, um, and he's taking a lot of time out of his day to address this issue. And like, really, after spending enough time, first it started with the smaller clips, and then after I heard a few of the smaller clips, I would just throw on some of his long form content while I'm working or something. And after following the live streams, I gathered that he had a Discord. So I went and checked out his Discord, and there's a lot of really interesting conversations going on in there. And I encourage anyone that is curious about Christianity, or would like to um, test the
Islamic faith.
yeah,
That's more
exactly.
appropriate for Christian Prince.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
when
exactly.
I was a Muslim, I was a Muslim and I encountered him, and you know, the biggest and the worst abuses that I have ever given to any single human being in my entire life was Christian Prince. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
So, a part of my testimony is I encountered Christian Prince and I wanted to debate him. And I encountered him. Every single abuse that I know in English and in Punjabi and in Urdu and in Hindi, I have done to this guy. Every single curse word that I had in my dictionary that I know of, I have given to this guy. Every single bad prayer, because like in Urdu it's called baddua, in Arabic it's baddua, in English there's no bad prayer anyways, so I don't even know how to translate that. So curse prayer, so curseful prayer, I have done for this guy. This
Wild.
guy, you have no idea how many curses that I have done to this guy. And let me say that clearly. If it is not for CP, I might have been in Islam for another maybe a decade or few years very easily. If it is not for CP, because David Wood is is nothing, quite frankly. Like a lot of people say David Wood is the king and all that. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. For them it is. But a person who has lived his life in Pakistan, a person who has uh, been praying, who has been offering, who has been fasting, who has been doing a lot of stuff for Islam, David Wood cannot shake that person very easily. But when it comes to
Right.
Christian Prince, the CP, man, this guy is a bomb.
Spanking.
Yeah, this guy is an atomic bomb. And you know, I was like, I'm gonna destroy him. I'm gonna obliterate him. And I would go and I would search and I would research, and I was like, I'm gonna destroy him on this, and I would research and I would do more research, and now in my Urdu channel, people call me certain times, you are a Asian Christian prince, and I feel proud certain times, when they say that, because quite frankly, this is the guy we need. These type of guys are what we need in the in the eastern part of this world, like India and Pakistan, where they will just show right in a click. Somebody says something and you'll show it right on the spot. And that's exactly how I work my Urdu channel and Hindi channel as well, because I learned from him. Because like, if you're saying something, you better be able to prove it right there and then, because otherwise there's no point. And that's why this guy is very important for the West as well. And after giving him all these abuses, and whoever says that I have ever debated Christian Prince, I'm going to deny it ever, for as long as I can. But I am always thankful to CP for what he is doing and what he has done for me in my life. And that's a reality. So yes, brother, coming back to you again.
Yeah, man.
CP. So you found CP. What
Yeah.
next?
So I, after spending enough times being witness to the different discussions taking place and just seeing how every argument presented by Islam falls apart with just even the slightest amount of questioning, and how quickly it falls into ad hominem, just like, all right, are we discussing the subject, or are we talking about talking? Like, well, I feel like it's like focusing on harakat when I'm trying to understand the nuances of Zainab and Zayd's relationship.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
I don't care where the I don't care where the dhamma goes. Can you please explain how this makes any sense?
Yeah, I fully agree. I fully agree.
So at that point it was just a done deal, and then I started looking at myself, because I'm not even agnostic. I believe that Christ has a very powerful like teach doctrine to offer. Like when I think of the Ten Commandments, when I think of like for me, I'm still a medium Christian, as it were. I'm still fresh in the faith, and so even though I had the early exposure, my exposure was still superficial. Like I was eating the fruit without understanding how any of the trees were planted, and so it was like, all right, like it's all fine and great until I get to a point where the existential crisis kicks in, and I'm like, okay, actually, I was enjoying vicarious peace. I actually, at the end of the day, didn't develop a proper understanding of what the foundation was for that peace that they were sharing, and that even though I was adopted and integrated into that circle, that there was still a circle within the circle, and that had I been more in touch with that earlier in my life, that um, it could have been different. But now I'm at that point where I'm just listening. I'm not doing too much talking. Like, I'm trying to be very careful with my questions and making space to listen to answers from people that I have some trust in. Like, I think have something to say. There's, it's like when something's on your tongue, whether or not it tastes good. Like, I'm trying to have some faith in my senses, and like if something is speaking to my senses, then I'll entertain it.
Perfectly understandable. All right, this is beautiful, brother. And we are almost at a 2 hour mark. We have 15 minutes before we go to 2 hours. The link has been shared from the last half an hour for the Muslims to join in. And when I shared the link, all of those barking dogs ran away, but that's fair enough. That's fine. So, brother, how would you close your whole testimony to seeking Allah, finding Jesus? How will you close it? You have like, I'm gonna give you a solo. 5 minutes before I'm gonna speak.
Okay.
So clear your thoughts, find your final moral of the story, because this is beautiful. Like, it's a 12-year of journey, and I'm asking you to confine it in 2 hours where I am speaking as well, and I'm taking a lot of your time as well. But
No
you
worries. It's
know,
all good.
how will you confine it and finalize it in your final verdict? You found and you accepted the Lord. How will you confine this in 5 minutes now?
I will say that the first major shift for me was the the deconstruction of the term Allah and understanding that Islam Islam's Allah and the God that is observed by the Christians and the Jews are starkly different, and that the when I came, like, all of this, the copy paste business that's in the Quran, all of the stories that were borrowed and retranscribed and basically turned into a song. Like, they'll take the story of the seven sleepers and then figure out how to turn it into an incantation, and like there's just a bunch of other stories that they did similar things with. Um, you know, coming to find that it it was not only copy pasted, formatted into a and this is no disrespect, but it's like a rap song. It's an incantation. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladin. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's the way that I was able to have all of this stuff memorized for so long. And like, especially at the time that this was being spread, if like I was being threatened with a stick, those people were being threatened with swords. Like, you're going to remember what's in that Quran. I don't care what version they hand you.
Very well said.
So the deconstruction of Allah has helped me redirect my focus, because the part of me that was able to flip Sufi, like, I entered into spiritualism. I was basically like on the cutting edge of bid'ah. Like, I would have been a munafiq kafir just like anybody else as far as Islam was concerned, but I was trying to like purify Islam in my mind. I'm like, it can't all be wrong. Like, in the same way that I have a lack of understanding about the Bible, being that I'm so early in learning about it, I also felt the same way about my lack of understanding the Quran. And so any doubts that I had, I would just chalk it up to Allahu Alam, and that it's up to me to find the answer. But the answer must be there. But like, as I started looking around more and more, I'm just like, yo, like, I saw there was this one guy that was
So let
saying
me
that
just say something over here, just a little bit,
right.
because you just used Arabic terminology. So what happens in the Islamic culture is, when you can't find the answer, you say Wallahu alam, which means only Allah knows best. Allah knows the answer. Only Allah knows. Wallah means Allah. Alam means Allah knows. Only Allah knows. So in Islam, the basic issue is that you do not have the answer of a lot of things, but there is an Islamic fiqh, or Islamic accepted reality is, when you do not have the answer, just say only Allah knows best, and that's what this friend is saying. And this is how 99.99% Muslim lives. They don't have the answer. Wallahu alam. They don't have the answer. Wallahu alam. We don't know. Allah knows. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. That's what he's saying. Sorry, brother, for interruption. Please
No,
continue.
no, no, that's fine. I feel like so much that actually, like, it's the sixth pillar of Islam, Allahu Alam.
Yep.
And it's the thickest pillar, because like without it, it couldn't stand.
You are so right about this. Absolutely.
So I encourage anyone that is Muslim that thinks that the Christians in the old doctrine call God Allah to educate themselves about the influence of the Ottoman Empire and the way that they force them to change the words in their book in order to not die. Like if you want to just pay jizya, you better conform, essentially. And so enough generations of observing Allah as God in a Christian doctrine, and you're going to find people that are Christian raised, Arabic speaking, say something like wallah, and it's like, all right, you're saying Allah. Like, if I were a Muslim and I heard a Christian say something like wallah without having proper understanding of the history of how even Allah came out of their mouth in the first place, me thinking that they have doctored books would get this little ego boost of like, Allah, sure, but what do you know of Allah? You worship a man.
Very well said.
So
And I have
yeah,
I have done many videos on this. The name word Allah incorporated into Arabic Bible. Uh, the first time the word Allah was incorporated into Arabic Bible was Syriac Codex, Syriac Arabic Codex 152a. That is carbon dated to 850, around 850 AD, which is almost 150 years after Muhammad. Not 150, 632, 732, 8. So 200 and something years after the death of Muhammad. So when they actually captured Egypt and they did the translation of the Bible in the Arabic and inserted Allah wherever they feel like inserting. Mostly they inserted Allah where the word Elohim is. If you read uh, the earliest translation of the Bible in the Arabic, which is Van Dyck Arabic translation, that is where you will see that they have translated Elohim, the word Elohim, into Allah wherever they felt good about Allah. Not all of the location. In the Old Testament, the word Elohim is mentioned for over 2,000 times, out of which 800 plus times was it is used. The word Elohim was used for the false gods, and almost 1100 and something times it was used for the true God, because Elohim is just like Ilah or Ilahin, which is plural, because Elohim means plural, it means gods, Gods in English. And they just inserted the word Allah there for certain locations, not all of the locations. Once again, I will do another stream very soon about the word Allah in the Arabic inserted into different versions of the Arabic Bible, and I will go and compare it with the Van Dyck earliest, one of the oldest version of the Bible, and will show you the Arabic scripture in the not scripture. It is called the papyrus, earliest papyrus versus the Van Dyck versus the latest Arabic translation. I'll do this stream very soon, and I will show all of you guys about this. But the whole idea is that it was inserted by the Muslims before 852. There was no Allah in the Arabic Bible. It was always Ilah or Ilahain when it comes to Arabic, or Rabb or Sayyidi when it comes to Lord in the New Testament, not Allah. Now, when they inserted Allah, Allah has a son, because if we read Hebrews chapter number 1, verse number 6, 7, 8, 9, Allah has a son. And that is how they are deceiving the non educated Christians. So, this is what our brother is saying over here, that even if the Arabic speaking Christians speak a word Allah, it is not the same Allah of the Quran, number one. Number two, Muslims uses that word and they try to do their dawa gangism. Yes, brother, continue.
that's exactly the case. And that was a big part of what kept me in that state of mind, was being convinced that we observed ultimately the same Allah. And so falling back on Sufism didn't really feel like, I felt like I got to keep the aspects of Christianity that I liked and take it into Islam, essentially, is how that worked.
Hmm.
and that was really sneaky. But it's also very lonely because I'm not going to find community that is thinking like me. I'm basically like uh, Christian minded, but like Sufi quote unquote practicing, and so I I still identified with the Muslims, and so I denied myself community on both ends, being in that situation. Not that Islam really offered me much community in the first place, but that at least there would be like sometimes it's like settling for plastic flowers. Like I know they're not real, but like I'd rather that than nothing in my vase.
Very well stated, and I will move back to it once again. A lot of people were saying, please do a stream on this one. I will. I've already done this stream like 3 years ago. Obviously, I was not very fine speaking person back in those days. That was my early time. I've sent the link there, 58 minutes video, where I've shown a lot of things about Allah in the Bible. And all of these things that I just stated in less than 5 minutes, it has all the evidences are in this stream. I just shared the link in the live chat. I'm going to share it once again. Whoever wants to see all the references, it is there. I've sent the link. I've already done that. Whatever I say on my channel, like I said before, I have the proof, I have the evidence, I have shown the evidences. And if any Muslim wants to challenge me, the link is already pinned. The stream has been open for almost 40 minutes. They can come up and challenge me, and I will show them every single thing that I state on my channel. That is how I work. If I can't
Adam,
show what I say, I am nothing, and I am just as bad as Muhammad. So
I
whatever I say, I prove. Yes, brother.
I only want to challenge real Muslims, true Muslims, no Sunnis.
Then you have no Muslim. Then you have no Muslim in the whole
Oh my
world.
god.
They're either Sunnis or Shias or Mutaradis or
You're never
Mutazalites or
you're never
you don't
just
have a true
Muslim.
Muslim. You don't have a side Muslim over here, man.
I feel like that's the first thing that you have to come to terms with is that you're never just Muslim.
Absolutely.
You're on a side whether you acknowledge it or not. And I was raised Sunni is my background. و للشيكك بالموضوع ربينا Sunni. All right,
Mhm.
like I understand my accent is not heavy. Yani, if you want, I can speak with the accent. I don't know what you want from me. Like this is how I talk, and so I'm sorry to say.
No, brother, because you came to US when in a very early age, so obviously you don't have the accent. You can speak with an accent, I can understand that, but you don't have an accent because you came here when you were a teenager, very early in your teenagers. So yes, you were. Somebody said that, brother. Question: do we have a Bible and Torah before Momo 2 to 5 AD? Yes, there are. Every single scripture of the Bible is between 2 second and the 5th AD. All of them, all of them. By the way, the biblical canon that we have right now was established in the 3rd century. Before that, it was scrolls, and which books will comprise of a Bible was happened in 3rd or 4th century. So every single scripture of the Bible was predate Muhammad. Number one. Number two, Torah. We already have the Dead Sea Scrolls, which dates 500 BCE, 600 BCE, 400 BCE. They are carbon dated. So now Torah, all of the scripture of Torah, we have before Messiah was even born, and we have the Dead Sea Scroll from the up all the way up till 2nd century of the New Testament as well. I have the Dead Sea Scroll Bible in my hand right now as we speak. It is in my shelf right now. So this is a very common knowledge now. So there was a guy whose name was, I can't even pronounce the name, Ayurved. Ayurved, if I'm pronouncing his name right. where I can show his screen. He's this way. So yes, Ayurved, Mr. Ayurved. Yes, every single biblical scripture that you have from the Old Testament and the New Testament, they are way before Muhammad was even born. None of them are after Muhammad. None of them, not even a single one is after Muhammad. So it cannot be corrupted. So if it is corrupted, it was corrupted before Muhammad, right? So if it was corrupted before Muhammad, how can Muhammad say, I believe in this Torah and what is written on this Torah, and he puts the Torah on his seat and gets off from seat. So now this is the reality which Muslims has to acknowledge, accept. Otherwise, that's the problem. Yes, sorry, brother, for the side topic. I have a
No,
couple
no,
of
no.
questions
It's
I'll
all
take
good.
later.
Yeah, it's all good. I appreciate your input. I'm also, I appreciate getting to be audience to your show when I'm not on it, and so I get to be audience for little bits at a time while I'm having this interview with you. It's nice. I don't mind at all.
So let me answer this question as well. This is from Sonal Patel, and he is referring to David's question. This is I'm gonna show you this, and once again, let me remind you of this. I claimed that in Quran and in the Siyasata, which means the six Sahih books of the Sunnah, nowhere it is said that you need to have a permission from your wife to have a second wife. Now I'm going to show you islamweb.net article. That is the answer. That's a question. Husband may be lying to your wife about your second wife. That's a question. This is the question. Is it haram or halal for a husband to lie to his wife about taking another wife? Okay. Now let's read the answer first and then I will read the whole subject. The answer is, so lying to your wife by denying having a second wife is lawful, and there is no harm in it as long as your goal is to preserve your companionship with her, as this goal is conformed to Sharia. So number one, it is not just halal to have a second wife without the permission of the first wife. That's, you are just talking about the permission. I am saying you can actually lie to your second wife or your first wife about having a second wife or about having a first wife. This is halal. Why is it halal? Check this out. This is saying, in the words of Muhammad, no doubt that speaking is the mean of achievement goal. So any good is praiseworthy goal that could be achieved through truth should not be achieved otherwise. But if there is no other way to achieve this goal but through lying, then lying becomes lawful. This is the opinion of Imam Al Nawawi. Lying is lawful between spouse if it is done for the benefit is accepted by Sharia, and it is reported in Sahih Muslim and An-Nasai and in Sunan Abi Dawud and so many other places. I will show it to you as well. The Prophet said, "The liar is not a liar. The one who reconciled between people by saying good or reporting good." She adds, I have not heard Prophet permitting saying lies in anything except in three situations. Number one, people reconciliation, war, and talking of a husband to his wife and the wife to her husband. Hence, you're lying to your wife by denying having a second wife is lawful and there is no harm in it. There is no harm in it. There you go. This is the fatwa, and enjoy. This is the reality. So please don't tell me that you cannot marry another woman unless you seek permission from the first woman. That is absolute lie from the Maulanas. Atif Nadeem said, Arambai, in all European countries, they start discussion with most of the people saying Jesus was a Muslim. Brother, I'm going to do a live stream called Jesus was a Muslim. But if you want to see what kind of a Muslim he was, let me just give it to you. Share, copy, and there you go. To Mr. at the rate, no, everyone. Jesus was a Muslim. There you go. It's a what? How many minutes? It's a 8-minute video, and it will prove you Jesus was a Muslim. All right. So your 10 Australian dollar was well spent. I've already answered that. So have fun and enjoy. And I will make a full stream on this very soon. Mitranjay said, "Good morning, Lorji. Just a quiet reminder. Please send the lyrics you were talking about." Yeah, I have sent the lyrics. Oh no, I have not sent the lyrics. Mitranjay, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna connect you with somebody in the Discord right after this stream. So connect me on the Discord and I will connect you with that person right after the stream. Thank you so very much, Mitranjay. Appreciate it. God bless you all. Yes, brother. Finalize it.
Okay, I'll say this in closing then. Um, as someone who is fresh into accepting Christianity as a valid doctrine to pursue seriously, one of the major factors was establishing Jesus and Muhammad as paths, right? So the Sunnah is to walk in someone's path. And so when I think of the Sunnah of Muhammad and I think of the Sunnah of Jesus, I'm thinking of two very completely different Sunnah. And so for me, choosing Christianity was as simple as choosing the Sunnah of Jesus.
Ooh la la.
So hopefully,
By the way, Christianity is nothing as well if you look at it. Acts of Apostle chapter number 11, you will read when the apostles went to Antioch, uh, they were mocked by the word Christos in the Greek term. And they said, okay, done. We are Christos. Christos means follower of Christ. And that is, in English, it's called Christians, follower of Christ. So Christians or Christianity is not a religion. It's a relationship. And Jesus Christ said in John chapter number 14, he said, I am here not to make you a slave slash servant, depending on different translations. I am not here to make you a slave or a servant of God, because a slave does not know what the master wants and what he desires. He just obeys order. I am here to make you a friend of God, because a friend knows what a friend needs and wants. And this is a beautiful passage, because when you break the chains of slavery of Allah and become a friend or a son of God, you are in a relationship. You have no fear. Brother, you have no fear. You need to realize you have no fear. A lot of Christians have fear of God. Let me tell you, fear God? Fear God? Why should I fear God? Why should I fear God? God is love. My God is love. Why should I fear him? I should love him because my God is love. He doesn't love. He does not love. I love. He is love. Because of him, I know what love is. Because of him, I know what love is. Because he is love. He is love. And because of his love, I know what love is. Because he sacrificed himself, who came to the world as son, sacrificed himself on the cross for me, for you, for everyone. Because God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten son into this world. Why should I fear God? You read 2 Timothy chapter number 1, verse number 7 to 12. God, you do not have to fear God. You have to love God. You don't have to love God. He loves you, so you love him back. So do it in love. You don't have to do it in fear. Read 1 John chapter number 4, verse number 16 to 19. The one who fear will not be of God, because God is love. Read Romans chapter number 8, verse number 14 to 17. Fear is of slavery. Jesus Christ said, I am here to break the chain of slavery. I'm here to break the chains of slavery. Slave does not know what the master wants. He's just obeying the master without knowing anything. I am here to make you a friend, to get you into his relationship, to get you into his friendship, to get you into his family. That is what my God is, brother. That is what my God is. It has nothing to do with fear. I don't have a fear, because my God is love. I have a hope. a clear hope, a clear passage. I know where I am going. Why should I be afraid of anything? My God is love. Is your God love? My God is love. He sacrificed on the cross for me, for you, for everyone. So whoever believes in him will have eternal life. That's the reality. You want to go to God and say, look at my deeds? Okay, you can go read Romans chapter number 1, chapter number 2. Yes, you have the option. If you think you are sinless, if you think that you do not sin, if you think that you can show, hey, look at my good deeds, Romans chapter number 2 clearly says, yes, you can do that. Are you sure you haven't done any sin? It's up to you, my friend. It's up to you. If you have never sinned, or you have never done sin, yes, Romans chapter number 2 alludes to that. It says clearly, if you are an agnostic, if you are an atheist, when you are doing a sin, committing a sin, you're about to do a sin, the spirit in you that God has given you already in your brain, it convicts you of doing a particular sin. It convicts you, don't do this, you still do it. You still do it. Are you a sinner? Every single person is sinner. Show me a single person who could say that I have never sinned in my life. Nobody can say that. Everybody in this world is relying on the mercy of God, saying, maybe God will keep his one eye closed and say, okay, I will let you go. I will let this sin go. But if God will keep one of his eye closed and let some sin go, then God is not just. Then God is not just. Every sin has to be paid either by you or by your father. You, when you were a child, you rode a bicycle. You were riding a bicycle, you hit a car. Who's gonna pay? You? You don't have money. Who's gonna pay? Your father. Jesus Christ came as a father. Our father paid for our sin. He paid for our sin. Just like your father, your earthly father, will pay for your sin because you hit a car, you committed a sin, you hit a car, you damaged that car. Your father paid in this world. My heavenly father paid for mine. I accept him. He paid for my debts. You accept him. He paid for your debts. He's a free gift. He's a free gift. Gift is always free, but you have to accept the gift. Simple. It's a gift. You have to accept it. If I come to your home, knock at your door and say, hello, I have a gift for you. And you say, no, I don't want the gift. Okay, I'll go away. That's it. That's what the Bible is all about. That's what the good news. Gospel means good news. That's what the good news is. He's a gift. And it's free. Gift is always free. You want to take that gift? Yes, sir. I'll have it. Okay, perfect. There you go. You want to have this gift? No. I will go and I will show my good deeds. Okay, perfect. Do good deeds. But once again, it's not a get out of jail free pass, like the Muslim says. Hebrews chapter number 11, Romans chapter number 4. If you accepted Christ and you keep on committing sins, it is as if you have never accepted Christ. Hebrews 11 says, as if you have never been baptized in him. So once you accept him, you try to refrain from sins. You try to because your body is the temple of God. Your body is the temple of God. God lives in you. That's what Bible says. The Holy Spirit lives in you. Holy Spirit is God. Lives in you. Your body is the temple of God. Do not defile it. Listen to the Spirit. Listen to the Spirit. That's what the Bible says. And when you try to commit a sin, the Spirit gives you, tells you, and let's say you have committed a sin, your tummy will have an ache. It will tell you, you have done a sin. You have done a grave sin. And then you'll be like, Lord, forgive me. Lord, forgive me. What have I done? Are you ready? Are you ready to accept that you are a sinner? Are you ready? It's up to you. It's up to you. No compulsion. It's not a religion where there is a compulsion. It is a relationship. Accept him as a father. Let him pay for your debts. I'm sorry. I went a little.
No, you're good. I appreciate it. That was really well put. You know, there's only so much that someone offering a gift can do if you don't receive it.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
I was thinking one of the major things that changed for me as far as the way that I prayed was that um, I've found that in uh, observing Christ as God, that the way that I give my prayers is more in love and gratitude, and I feel more alive as I start counting my blessings. And even as an average person is just so overwhelmed with, like, if you're able to see, if you're blessed with the teeth to chew your food, if you are able to take yourself to the restroom without help, if you are able to have I like if you're able to have confidence enough to drive your car, like, there's so many ways that people are limited in their lives, and then people will just take their entire life for granted until they will take them for granted long enough for life to strip them of the things they've taken for granted. And then, because they haven't developed themselves spiritually, they just become these bitter, depressed people that rely on medication to keep themselves mood stable. And, like, that seems like the fate of a lot of people, and it's just tragic to see. And I feel like there's an answer to that through the church, and I encourage people that are curious about the church to look into apologetics specifically. If you are a Muslim listening to this and you haven't decided to chime in, you are a coward. I want to talk to you in English. Baki mak bil Arabi. However you love it, I'll give it. Like, I'm ready to talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. I think that this doctrine is shameful. I think that the lies that are told about it are shameful. I think that Dawaganda is not a slur. I think Islamophobia is incorrect, because I am not afraid of this cult. Islamo nausea is the term that should be adopted, because I am sick of this cult.
Very well articulated, brother. Very well articulated. And thank you so very much, brother. Uh, a person said, will you allow us to ask questions? Brothers and sisters, now is the time to ask questions. It went above and beyond. We are like 18 minutes above 2 hours mark. Do you have time, brother Murtad, for the questions? Because certain people would like to ask questions. They said, will we be
Sure.
able to ask questions? All right, guys, now is the time. Tag me and ask the question, whichever question you want to ask, and I will put on the screen for our brother Murtad. What's your last name? Dila? Murtad Dila? How do you pronounce it?
Mortadella.
Murtadallah. Alhamdulillah. Murtadallah. Wallah Habibi. Wallah Habibi. All right, guys. Question time. If anybody has question, otherwise I'll end it. I'm already 18 minutes above 2 hour mark, and I'm sorry, Murtad. I told you that it will be 90 minutes to 2 hours, and we went above and beyond. I'm so sorry about that.
All good. I made sure to plan accordingly, so I'm happy to spend the time.
Awesome. God bless you, brother. And obviously, the Muslims ran away. They were only good in the live chat when they were barking. But when it comes to walk the talk, they did not join the StreamYard. That's how it is. That's always how it is. Hardly a chance that that a Muslim would actually come up with when there is an Arabic speaker there. It's very difficult to get them. So yeah, CGDTX, how are you, brother? Long time no see, man. Welcome back. Andrew Martin said, Marine, I think it was nice. All right, so here they are talking about it. A nice one is. All right, Sonal Patel, you actually said you have a question. Now is the time. David said, Adam Seeker, Dows. What is he saying? Um, Dows. Martyred Tell have a YouTube. Oh, do you have a YouTube channel, brother?
No,
No, he does not. He does not have a YouTube channel.
I'm just a
Uh,
guy.
he's just a guy. You'll find him in CP's Discord, and he's listening there, and he's in CP's live chat as well. I found him from CP's Discord as well, and he was having a discussion with a Muslim, and I was like, wow, this guy kind of knows Islam as well. And I was like, asked him, I was like, hey, were you a Muslim before? And he talked to me, and I was like, okay, come up. A lot of his story I heard for the very first time as well with you guys. And I was like, just come up. The way you actually have a discussion with a Muslim, just come up. And it's more than enough that you were once a Muslim and you need to tell your story.
Happy to
And
share.
Crash said, when did he leave Islam? How long was his journey? So his journey was 12 years that he actually mentioned already. When? I don't know. Do you want to say when or not?
I would say officially like the the month before Ramadan of this year. Even I'm
Wow.
fresh. Yeah, I'm
You
fresh.
are a bravey Christian, man.
Yeah. I'm very green, you know. But ultimately that's the reason why I frame things in the terms of choosing Sunnah, because even if I don't understand the ins and outs of like when someone was born in the Bible and what specifically their miracles were, I'm like, listen, like what is the outline of decent behavior among one another and with ourselves? Let's just start with the brass tacks, and then like I'll figure out the lore of Moses with good time. But I have to figure out how to deal with myself and people in the meantime.
Awesome. Awesome. And Matrunja said, Adam, tell him the meaning of Dalla in Hindi Urdu. Brother, you serious? No, he was doing Murtadallah. Murtadallah. That is a Murtad of Allah. That's what he is saying. Hindi Dalla. I okay. Dalla means pimp, brother, in Hindi. Okay, Hindi Urdu. That's like pimp. So
I
so
really had no idea.
so
I thought
if I take your name in Hindi, it is like apostate. Dalla means apostate pimp. Okay. So that's what Mutrinja is
you know,
saying.
I appreciate you broadening my cultural horizons, brother. I'll be more careful with how I throw that around in the future.
So in Hindi Urdu, your name seems like in Arabic it is like Murtad of Allah. In Hindi Urdu, you are like a pimp Murtad. Okay, so that's
Also,
the difference.
I was thinking of the canned meat like mortadella.
No, it's not canned meat at all. It is pimp Murtad. Anyhow, sorry.
Oh my
Sonam
gosh!
Patel
All
sir,
right.
I was about to nikah thing. You answered, bhai. Thank you so very much. All right, that was not a question, but thank you. Glad I was able to help you. And then we have Adam Seeker ask him if he is getting threats from people too after he told them he's left Islam or leaving Islam. Yes, sir.
I would say that this conversation isn't exactly happening, just because it's not an easy conversation to have. I feel like this is almost kind of like as coming out of the closet in a big way, and there's really no need to get people's blood pressure going. So, you know, ultimately, I accept the fact that like I'm grown. You know, like y'all like lekum dinakum waliyadin, as they say. So like, just go do your thing, and I'm gonna do my thing. It's clear to me that like we can't even have basic conversations, let alone get into subjects like whether or not this doctrine is true. Especially seeing as how you're so invested and you're so deep into your life at this point that like I imagine it's sort of um, like for the people that are into the stock market, there's a thing called hodl, like hold on for dear life, which is what they say when you basically invest all of your chips into a certain investment, and then regardless of how things play out, you just let it ride. You're like, listen, I've already put in too much into this. Like, I, I would much rather the gamble of losing on everything I've invested over the course of my entire life than jump ship into this new thing that I barely understand and have spent a fair portion of my life being misinformed about and having extreme prejudice concerning.
Perfect. That perfectly answers that question. And yeah, that's why, there's no need to put your life in harm's way, anyways. So, what you're doing is right. Work on Discord, work on other medias. And obviously, I would recommend you to start up your channel as well. If you start up your polemics channel, apologetics polemics channel, I will promote it from my YouTube channel as well. I want
Nice.
more and more murtads to come up and open their channels, and especially the ones who speaks English, sorry, speaks Arabic and read Arabic. And then, it will be a beautiful thing, because then I will have some help as well, that I don't have to rely mostly on Google Translator as well. So I can call you in for specific hadiths and specific sharas which are only present in Arabic. So we can have a nice discussion and talk. But brother, thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you for having
Um,
me. It's been so much fun.
it was lovely. Yes, thank you so very much, brother. Thank you.
I
And thank
really
you everyone for watching it. And obviously, I know Pakistani people, watch this while you can, because within a few days, this will also be banned in Pakistan, just like the rest of the testimony videos were recently banned. Over 200 of my videos are banned in Pakistan in my English channel. In my Urdu channel, 197 videos have been banned. In English channel, recently the testimonies that I have done of Yasmin is banned. I recently got this email. The testimony of Yasmin that I did is banned in Pakistan. The testimony of Era America is also banned in Pakistan now. Happy Ramadan is banned in Pakistan. Sharia, the divinely obtained path, is banned in Pakistan. So four more videos of mine are banned, which includes two of the testimonies, which is the Era America and the Yasmin's video. They are banned in Pakistan now. So Pakistani people, watch it before it gets banned. You will have maybe 5 to 10 days before this video will also be banned in Pakistan. So watch it as fast as you can. God bless you all. We have one more question. I don't know, when I'm leaving, then people are sending questions. All right. Let me take that. Adam Seeker, question. Brother, your stream of Momo being Christian, what is it true? And Usama, yaar, come on, yaar. I made this stream as a mockery back to Muslims. Muslim says Jesus was a Muslim. I made a stream, Muhammad was a Muslim, where I was saying anything when any Muslim came up and said, no, this verse shows that he was a Muslim, or this verse showed this, and I was like, this is Uthmanic Quran, when Uthman changed the Quran. Just like Muslim says, Paul changed the Bible. And that's a mockery in reply. Like your argument about the Bible, where you say Jesus was a Muslim, is a stupid, idiotic, and ignorant argument. I can play the same game with you. That stream was all about playing the same game with them. Muhammad was obviously not a Christian. It is a reply, like the proverb says, reply a fool according to his folly, least he will think he is wise in his eyes. So I was replying the fools according to their folly. That is what I did. So I'm amazed that you thought that I was I was telling, like, come on, man. Seriously speaking, I'm sorry that you didn't get that in the first time. Adam Seeker, they can ban your videos in Pakistan, but not your ideology. All Alhamdulillah, send him to Allah, because his dog is hungry from the last 1400 years. So yes, send all the hams that you can send to Allah. God bless you all. Have a blessed day, evening, or night, wherever you are. And Yeshua Akbar Azim. God bless you
I
all. Take
mean,
care. Have a
God
blessed
bless you.
time.